Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody to Self Love Thursday with your girl, Cornelia White out of Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, welcome. It's Self Love Thursday. It's Self Love Thursday. Go tell a friend. Tag, like, share. It's Self Love Thursday. Go on YouTube and watch it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is Self Love Thursday. I got a special guest for you tonight out of Rural Hall, North Carolina. We're going to get ready to bring that special guest on, and we're going to talk about self love. Let's bring our guest right on in. Let's add. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey,
Hey, hey, hey.
hey,
How are you?
I am good. I hope you are this evening.
I'm good. Welcome. It's Self Love Thursday, y'all.
Whoop.
Welcome. It's Self Love Thursday. Listen, you guys, like, tag, share, go on YouTube. Once again, go on YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel because is on YouTube. We got a special guest with us tonight. This is going to be good. What's up, everybody? Listen, our special guest is Prophet Lester Jones, everybody, out of Rural Hall, North Carolina. Listen, long bio, I can, but I'm going to just tell you a short bio, and then I'm going to let him tell you about himself, and then we're going to get into talking about self-love. Y'all give me a round of applause because guess what? It's 7:36. I didn't get on at 7:45. 7:50. I made it, y'all. I made it. So I've worked with Prophet. Um he also was one of the speakers at I Am's first conference of the entire what can I say? I can't say the entire year because it's once a year. Annual conference. Let's just say the annual conference, okay? He was one of the guest speakers there, which was a treat because when you are dealing with domestic violence, you really don't have too many men that actually speak out on domestic violence or even care to even share their story because they feel like, that don't make me no man. I get up here and start telling what some woman done did to me and, my boys watching and everything, so that took a that took a lot of that took a lot of courage to do that as a man to get up there and literally tell his story. So I thank you so very much for he has been on I Am before. He has been on here before. He has been on I Am when I Am first started. When it first started, I believe we did a segment on um how men cope with domestic violence, how women, it was something like that we did. And he was actually the guest on there. So I'm super excited to have him. He is a father of two awesome kids. He is a graduate of let you know what, y'all. I'm not gonna get this school wrong. So I'm gonna let him tell y'all what school, okay? I know he just graduated, okay? He just graduated. He is actually a surgical tech, you guys. I watched his journey, which is super cool just to watch his journey. He is actually back in school again. He is a domestic violence survivor. He also again is an awesome friend of mine. We work together. We work together. Listen, if I had a choice to have me a supervisor, y'all, I ain't even gonna tell you no story. I'm listen. If I got a choice, can I have Lester, please? Can he be my supervisor? Because listen, manager, can I have a break? Can I just because listen, in the field that we are in, it's a lot of work. But I've known him for a very, very long time. So he's more like my spiritual brother than my friend. And again, I can talk about him all day, but that would not be good now, would it? Because we're talking about self love, and I don't want to talk about him all day. I want to give him the time to talk about him because I can say a lot. When I came into, when they always say give people their flowers while they're here, because when they're gone, they can't hear nothing that you saying, what you should have said when they was alive. They can't hear anything. So coming into ministry, walking into this thing for 3 years, he has been there basically the entire step of the way. He has seen me break down. He has seen me ready to throw in the towel. I have called him. He has been on the phone with me for hours and hours. Listen, I mean hours. He has been on the phone praying, covering me, and I really appreciate you. I love you so much for it. I love you, love you, love you, love you. So you guys, I introduce to some of you guys and present to others no other than Prophet Lester Jones from Rural Hall, North Carolina, who now, listen, is a big time, you guys, I said we got celebrities that come on to IM. This is the celebrities surgical tech, okay? This is a celebrity surgical tech. So y'all know, if y'all see me in this little big old fancy house sitting there eating out these little fancy plates and everything and these little gold forks, y'all just know I'm at the surgical tech house, okay, y'all? Just know I'm out there. If y'all see me in the back at the swimming pool sitting there drinking mojitos, mind your business. Just know I'm at the surgical tech house, okay? Just know that's where I'm at. I don't need to give you the address. Just know that's where I'm at if y'all see me, okay? But anyway, y'all, welcome, Prophet. How are you doing?
Thank you. I am doing well. I love that introduction. That was great. That was funny. So the gold plates, I like to wash my dishes in bleach. So I'm gonna have to think on those gold plates because I don't know how gold holds up with bleach. However, I'm gonna have to Google that and do some research.
Right.
So like she said, I just finished college in July. And that was part of my self-love journey because I have put off so many things I wanted to do for so many years, trying to please others, trying to be there for others. And I began to realize that around the age of 38, 39 years old, I started realizing as I look back at my life of how much of what I wanted, I put on the back burner to make others happy. And, of course, being a parent too, you make a lot of sacrifices, and the sacrifice, I'm not saying that my children are the reason that I didn't finish my education at that time. But, of course, when you have children, they have needs. You have to put things on hold sometimes to make sure that they have what they needed. But in the process, I've gone through relationships as well as friendships that continuously had me putting things on a back burner because naturally, as a man of God, I want to be there for others. I want to make sure that they're good. I want to make sure like Prophetess just said, I'm the type that'll be on the phone with you for hours, if that means getting you, helping you get back to that happy place or getting back to that place of peace. Because, some people end their lives because they need God. They need that peace. They need, that presence of God, and nobody's available to help them through, because a lot of times we don't take it serious, when people are at a fallen place. And one of the things that gets these people, it gets all of us there at one way or some point or another, is that we lose the love that we have for ourselves because we naturally want to sacrifice and we naturally want to make others around us happy. And one of the things that, one of the things I want to talk about on tonight is how to get back everything that was stolen from you. That was what God had put on my heart, because, we could talk about self-love and we could talk about the things that we could do to get there. But when you've had so much taken from you, when you felt like you have been robbed of so much, it's like you look around, you felt like you lost everything. I've been in that position before where I lost my vehicle. I lost everything that I had. And when I walked away from the relationship, I had nothing. So not only did I lose myself, but I lost everything that got me from point A to point B. I lost my roof that was over my head, lost everything. And so it takes so much to be able to get back to that place of trying to rediscover yourself and trying to rebuild your life. And that is one of the things that God had placed on my heart to share with you all, or to talk about, is how do we get back to that place to where we get back everything that was stolen from us? Because these people will go on with their lives. They will move forward, and they will take the peace, the joy, everything that they take it from you, and they just go on. Some of them will be in another relationship by tomorrow, or if it's family, they'll turn on you and they'll keep it moving. If it's friends, they could wake up. There are some friends that could literally wake up the next day and could care less about you, and y'all could have been friends for years. It could have been a 15+ year. I'm gonna be honest with you all, since we're doing this live, I actually lost two friendships I had to walk away from. One was about 15 years, the other was about 5 years. And it was because I noticed that as God was progressing me through life, I've noticed that these people, I'm always celebrating people. So if something's good has happened in your life, or an accomplishment, if I can be there physically, I will. Or if I can congratulate you on Facebook, if I can do all of that, whatever, however it is, I want to be there, because I feel like as friends, it is very important for us to celebrate one another, because we live in a world where people are selfish. We live in a world where people are all about self-gain, self-righteousness, arrogance. They're conceited, and they're full of pride, and they're full of themselves. And so it's like they don't understand the purpose of sacrifice. They don't understand the purpose of being there for one another, because in any type of relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's family, or an actual relationship, two people or however, need to be able to be connected and be able to be there for each other. Because if you leave a person to start feeling depleted, or if you have a person to the point where they start feeling like they're losing themselves, then that is going to become a problem, because now they're trying to find themselves while you're going forward. Because sometimes the devil will send people in your life to take until you literally feel like you have no purpose.
Absolutely.
You'll feel like there's nothing left. And then you're just like, well, what else do I have? What more do I need to live for? They've taken everything from me. And again, when I talk about my own self journey, in 2021, just to give y'all a briefer, because she's already done a great introduction. In 2021, I made a decision that I was going to go back to school. Like Prophetess was saying, we were both working as CNAs and med techs, and that's a hard job. Anytime you're trying to take care of people, and it's like, it's not even just to taking care of the residents, but you're having to deal with all the politics that come with working in these nursing homes. The rules are changing every day. The care plans are changing every day. You got the family members jumping down your throat. You got administration jumping down your throat. You got the supervisors, team leads, everything every people in all these different positions are in your ear, telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, or this wasn't right, that wasn't right. What was okay yesterday, or what was okay a week ago, all of a sudden this week can get you fired, can get you rolled up. And so, I started praying to God, and I said, God, I really want to go back to school. Please get me on this journey, because I don't know what direction. I really did not know what direction I wanted to go in. I know I wanted to continuously work in the medical field, but I did not know what school I needed to go to, because I didn't just want to go to any school. I want to go to a school where not only will I be successful, but it was exactly where God wanted me to be. And so God pointed me to Rockingham. So I am a recent graduate of Rockingham Community College. And as she stated, I am back in school working towards a even higher degree. And I
thought it was Rockingham.
Yes.
I thought I was getting ready to say, and I'm like, man, I know it started with an R, What if it ain't Rockingham, man? Let me just stop. Let him do it.
Hey, it's all good. You got it. And so what I want to encourage you all is, like I said, the title of this, because normally I write everything down. One of the things that God had placed on my heart today was speak from your heart. Don't write it down, because sometimes when you write things down, you're trying to go on like this chronological plan. You're trying to go step by step in what you're saying. And God is saying, no, what I want you to do is speak from your heart. Because when you speak from your heart, the message is relayed a lot differently than if it's just written down on paper.
Right.
What I want to tell you all is that you can do anything according to God's will. Because sometimes when you tell people they can do anything, they might be thinking, oh, I seen this person that I work with and they're married. So God said I can do all things. So that means I could take them. No, that's not what I'm saying. So it's like, don't take it out of context, because, we got to think it's according to God's plan. God's plan is not for that. And so the thing is that when we talk about, well, first, let me finish up with my quick introduction. So, recent graduate of Rockingham Community College. I graduated 4.0, straight A student, graduated with honors. And y'all, I did not think that I was going to graduate with honors. There were times I was struggling because, lack of sleep, waking up at wee hours of the morning, having to get the clinical sites, having so much, having, report after test after quiz, studying for the certification exam. By the grace of God, I passed that too, because it's only, thank you. It's only a 74% success rate. So it's like, I thank God for that. And so the thing that I thank God for is that on my journey, because, Prophet is to see me go on this journey, is that you got to start figuring out, and going to God and be like, okay, God, I need you to help me back on this journey. What is your will for my life? What do you want me to do? Because the reason why so much is taken from us is because, we're already outside of God's will, because we're wanting to be in relationships that God clearly did not want us in. We want to be around people that God doesn't want us to be around. And we want to be connected to situations that God doesn't want us to be a part of. And so when you put yourself in those type of situations, and we come outside of the will of God, then we are basically target practice for the enemy. And so things may seem like they're working out okay for a little while, but then eventually everything will crash and burn, because anything that's outside of the will of God, and anything that, when the devil has free range to attack you, happiness is always going to be temporary. And it's really not even true happiness anyway, because, true peace and true love comes from God himself, not the enemy, not the world. There's nothing that this world can give you or offer you that would ever outdo anything that God can give you. And that's why, again, we have to understand that when we're on this journey to self-love, you have to start looking in the mirror, start looking at yourself and say, okay, what are my goals?
Absolutely.
What I want to do? What have I been putting off for so long, for so many years, that I have not gotten around to? Because if it's anything that's continuously staying in the back of your mind, if it's anything that you keep thinking about, then obviously that is something that you're really wanting to do. School has been something I've been wanting to complete since I was in my early 20s. I'm in my 40s now. And so it was always something that was a part of me that made me feel bad. It was always something that made me feel guilty. Even when I was working in the hospitals, I would be looking at the nurses, and I'll be looking at people who were in certain positions, and I'd be like, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I wish I would have finished school. Oh, I wish I would have stayed in school. But then I had to change my attitude. I had to go from wishing to saying, I can do this.
That's
God,
right. That's right.
Yes, God, what is your will? And so the thing is that when we are beginning to learn to love ourselves, we got to start figuring out things that make us happy. Instead, you have to reroute your mind, because especially when you are connected to people that you are always so used to making them happy. Now you got to start saying, okay, what is it that I like to do? Because sometimes when we disconnect from certain situations and we look back at it, we really begin to realize that the things that we were doing to make other people happy, we really don't like to do at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like, for an example, I don't like soccer. Uh, I don't like, just just randomly thinking. I don't like cotton candy, but all of a sudden I'm eating it because they like it. Something like that. And so that's why it's so important to really begin to understand what is it that you like, what is it that you love, what is it that you want to do, what are your goals, what are your aspirations, what are your dreams, what have you been putting on hold for so long, for so many years, that you haven't gotten to, that you haven't done, because you are trying to make everybody else around you happy. Because one thing we often forget is that when we keep doing that, and we keep allowing people to realize that they can get us to do everything the way they want us to do it, and we're willing to sacrifice everything, they over time will slowly lose respect for us anyway.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
once they begin to lose that respect, they no longer look at you pretty much as their equal anymore. They kind of look at you basically as a floor mat, because they feel like, hey, you know what? You'll do whatever I want you to do.
Do whatever I want you to do. That's right.
You will go wherever I want you to go. I have seen people start changing the way they dress, change everything about themselves because they want to be connected to a certain crowd or a certain group or certain people. I even, even when I talk to my son, I'm always explaining to him, hey, look, the best thing you could do in this world is be yourself.
Be yourself.
Create your own journey, figure out what you want to do, because these people that you're around now, in 2 or 3 years from now, y'all are going to be in different places in your life. Y'all may not even be living in the same state. Y'all might even live in the same city. They'll be going off to different colleges. And it's not to say y'all won't keep in contact, but for the most part, these people are going to go off and start figuring out life for themselves. And so as you're trying to, or as you begin to start learning how to love yourself, one thing I always tell people too, this is always my favorite thing, look in the mirror and name 5 things that you like about yourself. And don't walk away from that mirror until you have 5 legitimate things that you like about yourself. Not something like, oh, okay, well, I like the color of my shirt. No, really dig deep and think about not so much of the physical characteristics that you see in a mirror. Go deeper. Begin to think about things like, I'm a kind-hearted person. I'm a generous person. I'm a good listener. Go deeper, because as you go deeper, if you're just looking in the mirror and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I like the color of my eyes, that's superficial. There's nothing wrong with that, but you got to dig deeper when you're trying to discover that point of self-love, because you got to figure out, what is it about me that makes me a good person? What is it about me that makes me who I am? Because the whole point of, self-love is getting back to figuring out who you are. And sometimes even before you connect those people, you may not have even known who you were, because you got to think, as young, when we were teenagers, or some of us when we were young people, our identity was based on our friends, based on what they wanted to do, what they wore. And we've all been through that, because it's peer pressure. It's trying to fit in. It's trying to blend in. It's trying to be like everybody else. And as we get older, we begin to start realizing that doesn't work in the adult world, because we begin to start losing ourselves, our own identity, and what we want to do, because our paths is not going to be the same as somebody else's.
That's right.
One person may like working in the medical field. Another person may pass out at the sight of a drop of blood. Some people may be better with money, where like working as an accountant or something, and another person may not be able to count to 10. Like, you just don't know, because everybody has a different path. And so that's why it's so important to begin to look deeper. Even go back to your past, go back and look at things that got you to the point to where you accepted people. You have accepted situations that made you vulnerable, or made you accept the type of treatment or the type of things that you've had to go through.
Right.
Whether it was abuse, whether it was low, self-esteem issues, or whatever the case may be. That's why we have to begin to really, really look inside of ourselves and be like, what got me to the point to where people got easy access to steal everything that made me who I was. A lot of times people, one of the changes that I've noticed is that when I began to start guarding my peace, I've noticed that people really begin to start walking away and disconnecting because, when they cannot have your peace, they don't like that. Because a lot of times we also have to realize that a lot of our friendships, a lot of our relationships, a lot of our situations were built off trauma bonds. And as we begin to get on the journey, or we are on the journey of self-love, God will begin to break those trauma bonds as he shows you. And as he breaks those trauma bonds, those friendships and those connections will begin to suffer because that's what they're built on. They're not built on a solid foundation. They're not built on, hey, just like I can call Prophetess at White and I can say, hey, I'm going through something, I need to pray.
So when you say, oh, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So when you say trauma bonds, a lot of people may be watching and they don't know what trauma bonds are. And it's still part of, this is self-love. He's still talking about self-love, but he's going by how to get it back is how he's bringing what's the definition of self-love to him. He's talking about how to get how do you get self-love back after you've been torn down? Basically, is what he's saying. But for the ones that's watching, how would you explain, before we go into that, there's a comment that says, congratulations to you
thank you.
From Christina Mona Lisa. Oh, that's my cousin. She said, congratulations.
I appreciate that. God bless you for that. I appreciate it.
So explain trauma bonds and, what that can do when it comes to self-love. If you could do that, just explain what that is for some that may not even understand what trauma bonds is. And when they look back, when you said go back to the past, they can know how to actually disconnect from that. Because trauma bonds, they still go with you until you know how to disconnect from them. So explain trauma bonds to everybody.
Sure. So trauma bonds are almost, people will be surprised to hear this because I just recently learned maybe about a year or so ago what trauma bonds were. So they've been that long since I've known, but trauma bonds are almost like another form of a soul tie. Mm-hmm. So trauma bonds are basically any type of traumatic experience that you have gone through, whether it was domestic violence, whether it was something in your childhood, anything that caused you almost in a sense of a PTSD type of situation. And basically what happens is that the enemy will use that trauma to bond with you. And so what happens is that when we're dealing with the trauma, we're basically in survivor mode. And so basically with survivor mode is, just like, here's a good example. You're in a relationship with somebody and they hurt you. And so now what you do is in every single relationship you in, you don't even let yourself love anymore. You don't even let you're at a point to where you're like, okay, I'm gonna play everybody that comes into my life because of what I've been through, or I'm going to manipulate, or I'm going to lie. I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to just use these people for money. I'm just going to do X, Y, Z, because basically that trauma bond, basically what it does is that it causes you, it causes you to change into a different person because of the simple fact that that hurt and that pain is now causing you to go into protective mode. Another way that another way we can also look at trauma bonds is that you ever notice that you connect to people who are just like you, or not just, I won't say just like you, but they've gone through the same things you've gone through. And so basically what happens is that y'all connect because of the trauma y'all went through. Like,
Mhm.
being friends with people because, we've been through some of the, like, I had one particular friend, we went through the same thing in relationships, the exact same things. And so what happened was that our friendship was based on our hurt and our pain that we had gone through in relationships. And what happened was that as God began to build me up, and I began to forgive everything that had happened to me with my trauma bonds and everything that happened with me in my past, then I noticed that as God began to elevate me, that the friendship began to dissipate. Everything began to change because that trauma bond was now broken. Because as God is bringing me through, that that connection is not there no more, because these people want to still stay in that place of survival, anger, resentment, pride, and they're not ready to forgive, and they're not ready to let go of what they've been through, and so or ready to let go of the anger that they felt toward the people who have taken them through that. And so basically what a trauma bond, just sum it up real quick, basically a trauma bond is basically a way that we connect to people based on the things that we've been through. And sometimes we think that that is forming a connection, and it's really not forming a connection. Honestly, it's really hurt people connecting to hurt people that's hurting people or each other.
That's good. That's good. That's real good. How you just said, it's really like they say, hurt people hurt people. Basically, that's good. That's good. That's good. Oh, you can go ahead. I was just,
Okay, okay. I want to make
I
sure.
was just saying that's good. That's good. I was saying that's good.
Okay. So to make sure there's no other questions. But again, and that's the reason why I went to trauma bonds, is because you're not going to heal if you don't forgive. You're not going to heal if you don't break away from the things that cause your hurt. It's very hard. Forgiveness is very hard. I'm gonna be honest. It's not an easy thing for anybody that'll come to you and say, oh, it's effortless. Forgiving is easy. No, forgiving is probably one of the hardest things you could do. It's literally, most people would rather go and, run out in front of a moving semi than to forgive. Because because a lot of times you're feeling like you're letting them get away with what they did. And that's not what it is. What you're doing is you're giving it to God, and you're moving forward with your life.
That's right.
And you're not allowing that thing to weigh you down anymore. And so as you begin your journey of self-love, you have to take away all the stuff that's weighing you down, all the stuff that's been on your back for so long, all the stuff that's caused you hurt and pain for so long. You're letting go of it, and you're getting to a place of peace, and you're saying, I'm free. And as and as you begin to be free, you start forgiving those people.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you can't get in contact with them, even if you can't talk to them. See, one of the other mistakes that I've noticed that people will make is, I need closure. So I need to go meet with them. I need to go sit down face to face with them. No, you don't. No, you don't.
That was me. I was one of those people.
I've been there too.
I was one of those people. I listen. One thing about when you start can accept what you have done, when you start can say, you know what, that was me, that's self-love. That's part of your healing process, because now you're not in denial, like, that was me. I needed closure. I felt that I needed closure. And guess what? Feeling that you need closure make you go right back into that, right back into it again. And it's worse than what it was.
Yep.
Came out. So when we're talking about trauma bonds, and for the ones that just came, if you're just coming on, we're talking about self-love, but our guest tonight, Prophet Lester Jones, is telling us how to get our self-love back, because many a times we get into certain relationships and certain things, and that self-love goes out the window. It just completely goes out the window, and we put our life on hold. And he's telling us how to get it back. So he has explained to us what trauma bonds are. And a lot of people don't know what trauma bonds are. They may hear it, but they hear the word trauma and it's like, I ain't been through no trauma or nothing like that, you know? And he just explained to us what trauma bonds mean. If you guys are just coming on, you have missed like some real good stuff, like some good stuff. So be sure to replay, because we never talk about how do we get our self-love back. When we lose our self-love, we don't really never talk about how we get that self-love back. We talk about the importance of it and why we should love ourselves, but we never talk about how we get it back. So again, he explained to us what trauma bonds is. And then he also told us that, well, he basically challenged us to literally look in the mirror and look at yourself and say 5 things that you like about yourself. Don't sit there and say, like he said, this purple shirt is so pretty. No, 5 things that you like about yourself. Those become affirmations.
Nice.
They become affirmations. So that's the challenge that he challenged for us. Y'all know I'm gonna do that, right? I love a challenge. I'm gonna do that. Looking in the mirror. And I say it all the time. When you look in the mirror, you tell yourself, I'm beautiful. Because somewhere down the line, you lost that confidence in yourself because somebody just completely just dogged you. Let's just say it like that. They just completely dogged you. Self-love went down and you just didn't think you was beautiful. That's one thing. I'm beautiful. Somebody may say you big. Let's just say somebody may say you big boned. I don't want to say the wrong word. They knock my show off. They say you big boned, excuse me. And you look in the mirror and you may still be big boned. But baby, I look good. You hear me? I look good. That's self-love. He's teaching us how to get the self-love back. So his challenge for us was, I dare you, I challenge you to look in the mirror. If you got the doggone turn the camera on your cell phone and look at yourself and say 5 things that you like about yourself. That's the beginning. That he gave us the beginning of how to get our self-love back. And again, he talked about trauma bond. So my next, excuse me, y'all, I'm telling you, for some reason the other day, my throat just started hurting like crazy out of nowhere. I don't even know where it came from. Ain't been around nobody. So y'all, please excuse me. So now that he told us what trauma bonds are, Prophet, tell us how we get out of it.
That's a good.
We're stuck. We done got connected, like you say. Excuse me, like you say, the devil is a whole lot. Because I was not coughing, y'all. I did not have a cough with it. Like you say, trauma bonds are like soul ties. So now that we have got ourselves into these bonds, our self-love is dying. We're putting things that we always wanted to do, like you said, behind us. And then years and years pile up on us. And now something that we could have did 5 years ago, it's more harder because we're older. And when we get older, some things you just don't like. Some things irritate you easily. I ain't gonna lie. Some things just irritate you easily. So now that we're in this, in this trauma bond with whoever it is, and trauma bond can be many of people. It don't have to just be one. Many of people. How do we get out of it? If we're building our self-love back. We're going out to get our self-love. We already done did what you told us to do. We already done, every day we get up, we're looking in the mirror, we're seeing 5 things that we like about ourselves. We're trying our best not to, say anything that we dislike about ourselves, because all that does is remind us of our past, of what they used to say. So now that we're doing this, how do we do that and plus come out of the trauma bond?
That's that's a good question. One of the things you said a minute ago, and I'm going to tie this in with what you just asked, is we got to stop agreeing with what other people are telling us about ourselves. You just said affirmations. When you look in the mirror and you're naming the 5 things you like about yourself, you are basically, what you're doing is you're coming into agreement with what just coming out of your mouth, because, it's the word, life and death, are in the power of the tongue. And it really truly is, because there was just a study that I seen a few years ago that's on YouTube. It's probably been out for a long time. I just don't know how long it's been out. But a guy did a challenge where he had a set of plants where he talked to one set of plants in a real positive way. He did it, I think, maybe for 10 days. And the other set of plants, he cursed the plants out. He talked down to them, just saying all kinds of mean things to them. When he came after that 10th day, the plants he talked nice to had flourished, they had grown, they were just as beautiful and green. And then the ones that he talked down to, they were black, they were withered, they were dying.
Wow.
It looked terrible. And it's on YouTube, so you can actually look this up on YouTube. So it shows that the power of our words really, truly even has an effect. If it can affect a plant,
right,
and what it can do to you. And so how we come out of this is learning, first of all, stop agreeing with what other people are saying. Stop coming into agreement with how they're feeling about you, because this is your journey. Nobody can tell you, advice is great. I'm not saying don't feel like you can't take advice from people, but don't come into an agreement with things, especially negative things. Do not, and first of all, don't even, get away from the people that are talking negative, that are speaking down on you, that are, even if they're not speaking down on you, it's not healthy even to be connected to people who are negative every time you talk to them, because that right there is going to keep you from being able to build yourself up, because you're going to be so busy trying to keep them afloat. You're going to be like their lifesaver, their life preserver, to where you can't even pull yourself up because you're so busy trying to keep them afloat. Now, as a friend, and as people, however we're connected to people, yeah, we want to pull people up. This is not to say that you don't, but if you're around people, you can be around people who like and who enjoy drama. They enjoy being in a place and in a state of always being negative, always telling, well, that dress don't look right on you. I wouldn't even wear it. Me and Prophetess were just talking about recently about how often you could be around people who are jealous of you, but they act like they love you. So it's confusing. So you don't even know it. And so that's another thing you have to do, is you have to disconnect from everything. That's just like, think about it like this. When a person decides they want to get off drugs, one of the things they have to do is stay away from the place to where they got introduced to the drugs. Because what happens is that if they keep going back, and I do know that some people go into, the places like this to preach and to bring people out, but you really got to be delivered to do that. Because what happens is that if we keep going to the place of trauma, we'll wind up kind of like we were saying a little while ago about the closure. If you keep going back to that place, you don't move forward, you wind up going backwards, and you delay your healing. It hurts even when you're going through your self journey of trying to heal, because you're so used to the bond. You're so used to being connected to certain people in certain situations that I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that it's not hard, that it doesn't hurt, that there won't be days, there won't be nights, and there won't be moments to where you're just like, you know what, I just want to pick up the phone. I just want to call this person, or I just want to just go back and go hang out with them because I miss them, or I just want to go back to this situation because I was so comfortable and they brought me so much happiness and peace. Really, really didn't. The only thing it did was, it fueled the hurt that was in you, and it gave you comfort. Because what happens is that the last thing the devil wants us to do is get to a place of healing. He will delay it and do everything he can to throw every fiery dart at you that he can, because he doesn't want you to get to a place to where you know your worth. If you know your worth, you become dangerous. And the reason why you become dangerous is because when you really begin to love yourself and you really begin to understand who you are as a person and who you are in the kingdom of God, then you become a threat to the enemy. And not only do you become a threat to an enemy, but these people can't come and tear you down no more. They can't talk down to you. They can't take your joy. They can't take your peace, because you're going to be at a place to where you're going to be like, oh, nope, I don't want to hear it. Nope, you can't bring that in my house. You can't bring that in my life. Because if you don't learn, like we were talking about the trauma bonds, if you don't learn what got you at that place, if you don't learn what got you there in the first place, then you're not going to be able to go higher. You're not going to be able to come out of it. You got to be able to recognize what got me here, what caused this, why am I connected to this? Just like I was talking about the looking in the mirror and naming 5 things you like about yourself. Okay, start writing down a list of what got me to this place, what got me here, what is it that attracts me to the drama, what is it that attracts me to the toxicness. Just like we live in a culture to where they're promoting toxic relationships. Like, you got Krishan Rock and Blueface, and you have these couples that are beating the crap out of each other on live TV, YouTube. They going on live, beating each other up, calling each other names, trashing each other's stuff, setting each other's stuff on fire, bleaching each other's stuff. And they're promoting to this culture that this is normal relationships. Like, this is cool. This is great. And so what happens is that the devil is promoting, of course, we can very obviously see that he's promoting an agenda, but he promotes this agenda that this is great. Because once again, this is a trauma bond, that's being displayed for everybody to see. And so the devil is basically telling people, hey, trauma bonds are normal. It's a great thing to have. This is what you want. Like, it's okay if you beat each other up, and then, a couple hours later, y'all are eating dinner together and waking up together. Because that's what the world is promoting. The world doesn't promote self-love, because you got to think about self-love is boring to the world. Come on now. Do they really want to see you thrive and grow? You know what I'm saying? How you get the attention is doing something crazy. You're going to get way more views on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and any other platforms or apps that you will use if you are doing some type of self-harm. If you go to TikTok, how many self-harm videos, how many likes and how many comments they get. Some people have gotten famous on doing crazy toxic stuff. But let me tell you something. If you go back in a couple years and you begin to look at how their life has spiraled out of control because of the fact that they thought that they was going to keep going and keep going and keep going, the devil gave them a little platform for a little while, but then all of a sudden the devil will sit there and expose you, and he will embarrass you. And then you'll be sitting here trying to figure out how did I get to this place? What happened to my life? I started off, everybody liked me, everybody wanted to be around me, people couldn't get enough of me, and now all of a sudden, I got trolls, talking about me on social media. People don't like me now. They're saying all kinds of things, and then these overnight celebrity social media stars all of a sudden, are basically crushed, because the same people who they thought was showing them love are now the same people that's showing them hate. And that's because the devil, once again, is showing this whole thing of attention. Ooh, go out here and go grab it. Go out here and go reach for it. And so their entire lives and everything is predicated on the love that they get from people, but it's not predicated on the love that they have for themselves. So they do all this superficial stuff of wearing these expensive clothes, expensive shoes, driving these nice cars, going all these different places, because they want the attention of and the love of people when they got zero love for themselves. That's where we go wrong a lot of times in our lives, is because we really don't understand what self-love is truly about. The part of your journey of self-love is getting to a place of peace, getting to a place to where you don't care about what people think. You don't care about how they're feeling about you, because number one, God is going to start surrounding you like he's doing in my life currently. God is going to start surrounding you around people who truly care about you, who truly want to celebrate you, who truly want to be at anything that's celebrating you, and you all celebrate each other. That's what self-love is about, not running around with the ratchet friends, turning up and all that stuff. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, that's another trauma bond. When you running around out here to this club and that club, having this drink and doing this and doing that, and y'all think, oh, we got a friendship, we got a bond. No, what you have is a trauma related experience that y'all share together, that y'all can get pumped up and hyped up over ripping and running out here doing all kind of things that's only going to give you a temporary happiness. If you ever think about it, you go to the club, you all happy when you got that drink in your system, and you don't went home with that person. And then what happens a couple days later? What happens the next day? You're trying to figure out what happened. You're trying to figure out, how did I get myself in this situation? And then it's a cycle that continues. And as that cycle continues, it creates more and more confusion. That trauma is deeper. And then what happens is that when you finally begin to start realizing, okay, I need to change it up a little bit. So let me go out here and go find me somebody that I can settle down with. Sometimes that works. But then there are other times where that person will pretend to be everything that you were hoping for them to be, to do to you what everybody else in the world has done to you. And then all of a sudden, people get this concept where all of them are the same, where all women are the same, where all men are the same. No. It's just that the trauma related, or the trauma bond that you have and who you're connecting with is what's the same, not the people themselves. You know what I'm saying? What happens is that the devil learns us, and he studies us, and he starts figuring out, what do they like? What are they attracted to? What do they like to do? What is the thing that they like the most? And then when they begin to start studying that, and they realize that, then what they do is they start connecting you to the very things that they feel like you want, because it's all set up to hurt you and destroy you in the end.
It's draining.
Yes.
It's very being in, and I thank God for using you, because it's like trauma bonds. It's like it's sticking out at me. Trauma bonds can drain you. One thing about, and also with trauma bonds, and that's why I wanted Prophet to explain what trauma bonds were to the ones who did not know what trauma bonds are. Trauma bonds will drain you to a point that it will cause you to go into this cave, and eventually now you're stressed out, you're depressed and everything. And little do people know, it drains your self-love, but at the same time, without self-love, and you got depression and stress, and all, you got to remember, you're in a trauma bond with somebody. It comes then to now is messing with you mentally. And when it messes with you mentally, suicidal thoughts begin to come in. This is why self-love is so important. Self-love is so important. I don't care if somebody tell you that it's not important. Self-love is important. And it is, I don't look at it as strange that Prophet brought up trauma bonds, because you don't hear people talk about trauma bonds when we talk about self-love. You hear most people talk about soul ties. And then, everybody know how soul ties occur, but nobody talks about trauma bonds. And sometimes you don't even know why. Let me tell you, sometimes you don't even know why you're thinking a certain way. Sometimes you don't even know why you feel down. Sometimes you don't even know, why you just want to lay in the bed today and just don't want to feel nothing. You feel down on yourself. You feel depressed, and, you're just ready to give up. It's because there's a trauma bond that you're connected to. And if you're on here and you're feeling like that, and you just feel like, you know what, I'm ready to give up. I don't even love myself no more. You know, I done been beat up so much that I can't even take it no more. I don't even know how to find my happiness no more. If you listen to what Prophet said on how to disconnect from trauma bonds, if you begin to do that, you'll be a happy person. It's a process. Let me tell you something. Anytime things like soul ties and all of that stuff, it's a process. And I'm not gonna sit here and say it's gonna happen overnight, because it's not gonna happen overnight. The first thing the prophet said is you have to have forgiveness. Forgiveness is necessary. All of this is the process. Again, we're talking about how to get our self-love back, how to get it back. And it's a process when you've been in trauma bonds. I love that he brought up trauma bonds. The fact that he explained to you that it's a traumatic experience that you have been through, but you share that experience with somebody else that went through it too. So both of you are connected together, and whatever y'all can find that makes you happy, y'all both happy. He said something good. He said, it's a temporary happiness. It's not a long-lasting happiness. It's only temporary. So if you're listening to what he's saying, and you're one of those ones that your self-love just, it just dropped. Think about the people that you connected yourself with. Go back and look and go back. Sometimes a lot of people say, let the past be the past. But as the prophet is talking about trauma bonds, go back and look at who you used to be around. And if you are introvert, I don't know why God just gave me this. If you are introvert, listen to me. It can happen to you. Just because you are introvert and you stay home or you to yourself, it can happen to you. Trauma bonds can happen to you. How can that happen to me if I'm always to myself? I'm in a house. I love my peace. It's who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got to be around 1,000 people. You can be right on the telephone. Hey, girl, how you doing? What's up, bro?
Mm-hmm.
You can be right on the phone. And there's a reason why he's talking about trauma bonds, because somebody needs to hear it. Somebody needs to hear, this is why you have been going through this. This is why you couldn't get out of this, is because you were still connected to this, which caused a trauma bond. Not a soul tie, a trauma bond. And he's telling you how to get out of it. So this is really, prophet, this is really, really good. This is really, really good, because somebody needs to hear it. It's going to help somebody, because many times, people that say to themselves, they just don't think that this can happen to them.
Very true.
Because they say to themselves, but it can. And guess what? The fact that you are an introvert and you stay to yourself, that's how the enemy will come in so hard and so strong. And you sit in there battling in your mind. You don't love yourself. You will never be this. You will never be that. The enemy gonna come at you hard, because he'll have you thinking, I really don't even got nobody to run to anyway, because I don't be with nobody. Next thing you know, I might well just pop these pills. I might well just start cutting myself. I might well just do this, beat my head upside the wall. Trauma bonds, and the enemy will come in. He will come in and just attack you just like that. So if you're an introvert, I'm telling you, it can happen to you. And sometimes it happens worse, because the enemy look at who you gonna run to. You don't even be around nobody. Who you gonna run to? Get your prayer life together. Get your prayer life together. That ain't just for no introvert. That's for everybody. Get your prayer life together, because one thing about, like Prophet was saying, Self-love is not no big thing that they push on social media. Self-love ain't no thing that they push out here in the world because they push Satan agenda. They self-love ain't something that's big that they push out here. So I'm telling you, with the information that he's giving, like the jewels that he's dropping, like take notes, pass it on to somebody that may be going through something. Look at them and be like, you know what? Well, Prophet said this when I watched I Am. And you can begin to see those things in somebody. You can begin to see it. Oh, you know what? I know what I can do for them. I know what I can do for them. Because people, like Prophet said, people think self-love is just, it is what it is. Either I love myself or I don't love myself. And it's not let me tell you something. Self-love and Prophet, you can disagree or agree with me. Self-love, no, I'm just saying. So I want you to either agree or disagree when I say this.
Okay.
Self-love can be the most painful thing coming up in your life at times. I say that because in our generation, me and Prophet about the same age, but I'm gonna tell y'all he older than me, okay?
We just needed that reminder, didn't we?
But in our generation, self-love can be the most painfulest thing because we're breaking generational curses.
Yes.
And we have to deal with the pain that was before us. And we still think about the times where our parents can say, listen, some harsh things. They can. And you got to think, well, how did they learn that? Their mother or parent had to show them that, or did they ever show them self-love? It can be a painful thing, but it's a thing that must be done. You must have self-love. If you don't have self-love, you ain't gonna make it out here. I'm just being honest. Yeah. I give my hats off to the Prophet because, like I said, I saw what he was going through and how he just, being a surgical tech, becoming a surgical tech and graduating, surgical tech is hard.
Oh, yeah.
I give my hats off to him because I couldn't sit there and be looking at all them instruments. And because I would have been in the surgery room, they would have threw me out because I done gave this man some scissors instead of and he needs some type of knife to cut somebody. I gave this man some scissors, and now they got this person on their breathing machine. I've been thrown out. I've been thrown out.
Oh, Jesus.
I've been thrown out. So I give my hats off to him because I know what he's been through. And without self-love, he probably would have gave up a long time ago. And yes. if you was here in the beginning, you would have heard his story. But I say to you, Prophet, when it comes, I don't want to cut you off. I want to get into some questions, but I don't want to cut you off. If you're still going, I don't want to cut you off. So we talked about trauma bonds, and we talked about how to disconnect ourselves from those trauma bonds, because we know that when we could disconnect ourselves from trauma bonds, our life can really go smoothly.
I totally agree.
You may lose some people. Hey, that's okay. They weren't supposed to be there anyway.
That's right.
So I had a question, and I'm looking for a question that I had.
Okay.
So when it comes to self-love, let me see how I can put this question. I had this question in a way that I wanted to ask you this question.
Okay.
And I gotta figure out now how do I want to put it, because you start talking about trauma bonds. I'm like, man, that's real good. Like, that's really, really good.
We can shift gears if we need to.
What? Right. You know how we do, right?
Yeah. Yo.
So when it comes to self-love, when it comes to self-love, how can one, since we're talking about trauma bonds, when they're coming out of trauma bonds, when they're just getting that self-love back, when they're, when they just get into that point to where they used to be, before they got into those trauma bonds, how can I say this? How can they begin to look at life the way they used to? Like, how can they achieve the things coming out of those trauma bonds? How can they achieve the things they always wanted to do in life? Like, for instance, you said that back when you was you always wanted to go back to school. You're now such and such age. Again, y'all, he's older than me. So you're now you're now such and such age. I ain't gonna put your age out there. If y'all missed it, hey, how do they get to that point to achieving their goals in life? Because of course, trauma bonds again can drain us. It can drain us. It can literally take us down to the bottom where we give up on life. And if, to be honest, if y'all see some of the less fortunates out on the street, some of them are in trauma bonds.
Mm.
And they did not know how to come out, and it just took them. That's how life ended up for them. So
very true.
they don't know how to get to that point again. But when someone is coming out of that trauma bond, they're, again, they're learning to love themselves again. How can they achieve what they always wanted to do in life? What is it that, like, what is an example that you can give pertaining to them achieving what they want?
All right. So, first of all, again, like I said earlier in the video, you got to figure out exactly what got you to that place. Was it child abuse? Was it a rape, molestation? Was it, a toxic relationship? And then you also got to think, here's another question. Even before that stuff occurred, was there a previous trauma bond? Is there other trauma bonds on top of that? And one of the things that you have to do is begin to start looking at, what is it that makes you happy? What is it that you desire to do or you desire to be, where you were stopped, or there were things that life and everything else that got in the way that stopped you from doing those things, that stopped you from getting to that place? One of the things that I always suggest to people to do was, first of all, get a relationship with God. Get in your word, start talking to God, get a bond. We're talking about bonds, get a bond with God, because that bond with God will break those trauma bonds. Because as you begin to pray, as you begin to talk to God, God will begin to show you your purpose. He will begin to help you get to your place of identity, because you got to remember, we were created by God. So our truest identity and who we are comes from God, not the world. But what happens is that the world begins to shape us into and shape our identity based on the people we're around, what we're connected to. Even what we're looking at on social media, we'll begin to start envying people. We'll begin to start envying, a supermodel, or a NFL player, or somebody who works out every day, or somebody who's on social media displaying that they got 5 Lexuses and 10 Beamers sitting in the driveway. But then what you have to do is you have to be like, okay, I'm not them. What is your will for me, God? What is your path? Because number one, you got to understand. Let me just put this disclaimer out there. A lot of these people on social media, half the time, are fabricating their lives anyway. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing is rented, borrowed. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing, you got to think about a lot of photos and videos are easily edited, and cropped it and everything else. And so what we have to do is we have to disconnect ourselves from the world's standpoint of of looking at ourselves through the lens of the world, and we got to start looking at ourselves in the lens of us. Who am I?
That's good.
I'm not, the world didn't create me. The world did not place me here. So what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Not the world's purpose, not what this person and that person feel like I should be doing, and how they feel like I should present myself and how they feel like I should dress, because we got to look at how often we're doing things to impress the other people around us, whether we change our hair color or we wear a certain outfit or we're trying to get to a certain status so that people, in the world of social media can look at us and be like, oh my God, they're so successful. Oh my God, they're doing so great. One of the things that I love to do is anytime that I've posted any accomplishments on social media and people come to me and tell me how proud they are of me, you're going to always hear me say, God helped me. God did it.
God help me. That's it.
It was the prayers that got me through. It was Jesus that got me through. You don't know how often I was driving back and forth to clinicals, praying to God and asking God to get me through. It was all Jesus. I will sit here right on this live and say that it was Jesus, 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 and Jesus again, because I couldn't have done it outside of God.
Mm-hmm.
My connection with God has blessed me to figure out who I am as a person. I love who I've become in God. I love, the way I look at things now. I even notice that even when I go around people, like the new job I just started, I mean, the excitement that people are, of course I'm new, so they're going to be excited, but you can tell just by the way they're receiving me is different, because I'm walking in kingship with God. I'm not walking in that low self-esteem and that nervousness and the trauma bonds that I used to walk into. And these jobs can pick that up, and they knew that. And after a while, they'll eat me alive because they knew that I had, they could tell by my nervousness and stuff that there are some self-esteem issues. This is my first week officially on the floor. And the surge tech that I was working with yesterday was able to walk away and leave me out of the room. I mean, leave me in the room, leave me out of the room. Wow. Leave me in the room because he was confident, because God gave me the confidence to be able to run some of these procedures. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to say that a part of my self-love journey is that God gave me the confidence to be able to do what I needed to do. But also I wasn't afraid to say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is. Can you help me identify what this is? And oh yeah, thank you, Lester. Yeah, it's this. And just like that, instead of me being like, oh my God, I just, and part of trauma bond is we freak out whenever we feel like we're not perfect. Whenever we feel like that, we are not adequate enough, because we want the world to look at us and see us in a certain way. So the way that you get to that place is you begin to start focusing on your goals. You begin to start focusing on you. Start loving yourself. Start complimenting yourself, and stop accepting the affirmations of the world and things that people are saying, because you don't understand that every time you accept what they're saying, you become that, because you are giving permission and access for people to be able to decree and declare a thing in your life. And what you got to do is you got to debunk that and say, nope, I rebuke that in Jesus' name. Nope, I'm not that. No, I'm not ugly. No, I'm not stupid. No, I'm not dumb. No, I'm not a loser. You're wrong. I am a somebody. And so that's the thing that you have to do, is you have to begin to disconnect, walk away, and debunk those things that you have accepted for so long. And you got to begin to walk in, because the devil opens us up to traumas that God never wanted us to be a part of. But because we're in a world of sin, unfortunately, some of us go through more than others. And some things happen to us that doesn't happen to others. But the thing is that God will bring you, not only will he bring you through it, but it will be a testimony, because you don't know how many people need to hear about your journey. How many
Mm,
need to hear about how you got to the point of self-love? Because again, like we were saying a while ago, the world doesn't promote self-love. Social media, they'll say, oh, self-love this, self-love that, but they're promoting nothing but arrogance and toxicness, because they got on 20 pounds of makeup or sitting in a muscle shirt. And it's nothing wrong with making yourself look good. There's nothing wrong with doing something, but it's like, but they're not understanding is that, but they're promoting is the outside. What we need to be promoting is the inside.
right, right.
Love ourselves from the inside out, so that the inside can reflect on the outside. And if your inside can reflect from the outside, you don't need all these you don't always need so many superficial things to make you look like something, to make you look good, because it's going to come out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to, who you are is going to shine anyway, because because you have learned to love yourself. You have learned, to not base the love of yourself based on other people, because that's another mistake that we make. And that's another thing that we need to disconnect from, to get on this journey and get to a place to where we can be successful, is to stop basing who we are off of other people. That is the thing that will keep us trapped.
Yes, 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 yes.
So, that's the thing that, we have to, stop accepting the words. We have to stop accepting it and saying, oh, well, I guess I am. Well, since you feel like that about me, I guess that is who I am. And well, I've heard other people say it, so I guess it's got to be true if 2, 3, 4, 5 people said it. Okay. You know,
Mm-hmm.
is when two or more gather together in my name, I'm there in the midst. But also the devil will gather people that will come together to say things to you, to break you down, to come together for you to come into agreement with it.
Oh man, that's deep.
Because the devil is a copycat. So he's going to copy everything that God is doing. And so when we begin to accept those things, then we're going to, after a while, start becoming it. And then these people are able, or these, are able to say, do, and talk to us any kind of way, because we're accepting it as normal. So what you got to do is that once you begin to look, like I said earlier in this broadcast, or this live, when you look in the mirror and you name those things that you love about yourself, the next thing you need to start doing is saying, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Who am I? What's my purpose?
Mm.
Where do I want to go? What is according to God's will for my life? Because that's how the trauma bonds will begin to break, is when you begin to start going the opposite way that the enemy has been having you go for all this time. And now all of a sudden you veer off of that path and you're saying, okay, God, no, I want to be on your path. I want to do the things that you want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're when we look up to people, a lot of times that's another thing that can get us trauma bonded, is who we're looking up to. Because who we're looking up to can have, those people can have a lot of power and a lot of influence over us. And we have to understand that even people we look up to has got flaws. They have things going on as well. And just because we look up to them don't mean that they're right or they're correct in everything that they're saying. You want to forgive them. You want to pray for them. Because, another thing we got to make sure that we do in self-love is not to hate anybody, because love and hate don't go together.
Don't go together.
So people can think, oh, I forgive them, but I hate them. No, that it doesn't work that way. You can't forgive somebody and hate them. You release them to God, and you say, you know what, I don't like what I've been through. This hurt, but God, I trust you that you're going to bring me through this.
Mm-hmm.
You and as you begin to heal, and as you begin to look at your life and begin to start figuring and learning and looking at everything that makes you will begin to start seeing everything in your life start coming back together, because now you're at a place of healing. And as you're at a place of healing, God is able to really, really move in your life, because that trauma bond has been broken. That wall that was up has been removed. And now God is able to place his hedge of protection around you.
Amen.
And now you're able to go to this journey of self-love. And let me tell you something, the devil gonna fight you. He gonna fight you as you own it. He's going to go, it's going to be like a tug of war. But you keep going, you keep pressing, keep calling on the name of Jesus. And also, start, learning different ways, that you can practice those things. Begin to start speaking things like, you know what, I started doing that. I am a college graduate. I'm not ugly. I am a nice looking guy. I am articulate. I'm talented. I'm this, I'm that, and that's what and every day, make it a habit of speaking, not only self-love, but speak your success, decree it, and come into an agreement with it in the name of Jesus. And you're going to have people that's going to speak against what you're doing. You're going to have people that's going to say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I see you doing this, or I don't see that for your life, or I don't ever see you changing. And you've been like this for years. How you going to all of a sudden, you got to debunk all that. You got to disconnect from all of that. And you got to surround yourself with people who are successful, who are success minded, who are kingdom minded, who are driven, and who are focused, and who are positive. You cannot stay surrounded around rotten fruit and then think you're going to be fresh. The rotten fruit makes everything around it rotten. So you got to be around other people that are growing. You got to be around other people who are positive and speak positive. And not only do they want to see you grow, but y'all are growing in success. Y'all are growing, individually, but y'all are celebrating each other as you're growing.
Yes.
You're able to speak and pray and decree and declare things in each other's lives, that if somebody's going through something, or one of y'all are going through something, y'all can pick each other up, and y'all can say, hey, hold up, we're not going to speak that. We're going to decree and declare positive. We're going to get back to that positive place. Nope, don't even let nope, that person that said that to you, nope, that is not who you are. That is not you. We are not. Nope, we don't come into an agreement with that. You need people also around you who will remind you of your greatness.
Yes. Woo. Yes. Woo. You need people around you that will remind you of your greatness. I ain't saying the prophet said it. He said you need people around you that will remind you of your greatness. That's self-love.
Yes.
That is self-love, surrounding yourself with positive people.
Yeah, it's a must, because if you don't, like I said again, it'll be like you're the fresh apple sitting in the midst of all the rotten apples. What's going to happen eventually? All of them going to go bad.
Everything got magnets in it.
Yeah, because you're not going to, because that's just the way it goes. One apple, or as they say, one apple spoils the whole bunch. And that's why in this journey, you're going to find yourself having to disconnect from people. You're going to find yourself not being able to go to the same places. You're going to find yourself not being able to do the things that you used to do, because the direction of the journey has to change.
The direction of the journey got changed.
You can't climb a mountain walking down a hill. Like, in order to climb that mountain, you have to go up the mountain. And as you go up,
don't start nothing.
Yes, and as you go up that mountain, you're going to face some challenges. Climbing a mountain isn't easy. It's not physically, mentally, or emotionally.
I'm telling you.
But but as you keep going and you get to the top, you're gonna see how blessed you are, and you're gonna be thankful and grateful that everything that you've gone through, and everything that you've gone through was worth it to get to the place that to in healing. And then you'll be able to encourage and help those who need it, because a lot of people, like you said earlier, those homeless people and those people that you see out there on the streets, they got to a place, they got stuck. They got stuck in that trauma bond. They did not know how to come out. They did not have the help and support that they needed. So some of them have lost their minds.
Yes.
Some of them just got to a place where they gave up. And some of them just got to a place to where everything just snowballed in their lives, and they just could not get up that mountain.
Jesus. Ooh, God, we thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord. That's good. That's real good. That was real. This is good. This is real good. My next question that I have for you, Prophet. My next question is, how do we express gratitude to ourselves when we're just coming out of all of that and we're getting that self-love back, and now that we're on track now, we're on track now. We done the things that we always wanted to achieve before we got there. We're doing that. We're doing that now. How do we express gratitude towards ourselves now that we done climbed up out of that? We got our self-love back. How do we express gratitude?
So that is another wonderful. That was a great question. These are all been great questions, but how you express the gratitude towards yourself is reminding yourself of where you come from and what you've accomplished. One of the things that I did, especially when I just graduated recently, of course, I've said this over and over, is that when I look at my degree, and I start just talking to God. I immediately just start thanking God, because I was like, God, I thank you, because I said I never honestly thought that I would get to this place. And so I will say to myself, you know what? By the grace of God, we did it. I'm proud of you. You didn't give up. You didn't stop. What almost killed you did not kill you, but instead, you kept pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And and so as you begin to do that every day, it's like words of affirmation to yourself all over again. You encourage yourself, but you also remind yourself that, hey, I did good. Hey, I did great. Like yesterday, when I was able to run those cases practically by myself, I was like, oh my God, I thank you. Wow, I'm so proud of myself. Look how I just picked up this instrument.
Yes.
I handed it the right way. The surgeons are smiling, and I was like, wow, how I've come a long way. I'm so grateful. And so, it's different ways that you can say or speak gratitude to yourself, but just remind yourself of the great things you've done and try your best to not speak, even if you realize you made a mistake. It's okay to acknowledge it, but don't dwell on it and don't keep speaking on it. Don't keep talking about it. Don't keep harping on it, because what you're doing is that as you keep speaking and talking about that mistake, you're actually tearing your own self down.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, because sometimes we can also hurt ourselves by the things that we say and how we even in the view of our own selves, because one of the things that God had to, and he's still working with me on it, but one of the things that he's been working with me on is not being a perfectionist. And I didn't understand what being a perfectionist is about. I had a teacher tell me when I was in college years ago, when I was trying to go years ago, he actually told me I was a perfectionist. I need to be very careful, because that would be my downfall. I didn't understand what he meant by that, because I was in my early 20s, and I felt like, he was trying to be insulting. So I really didn't think much about it. But realizing now that perfectionist attitude basically meant that I was trying to perfect and be darn near perfect in a lot of things I was doing, in a sense of trying to be like a Superman. And
Mm-hmm.
is that the first mistake that I would make, or the first thing I messed up on, I stayed on the mistake that I made, and it was hard for me to come out of it. So it was like I could not forgive myself, and I stayed mad at myself for the mistake that I made. And then in time, what happened was that because I was mad at myself for that mistake, I was scared to try again a lot of times, because the devil would already be telling me, no, you shouldn't even do that. Nope, you're going to fail again. Nope, you're going to mess that up again. And so now that God has blessed me and he's taken away that perfectionist spirit, I'm going to say, when I make a mistake, I'll think on it and I'll say, okay, you know what? I didn't do that too well. Let me correct it. And then I correct it, and I'll be like, okay, the next time I'll do better. Or the next time I'll do it this way. So instead of harping on it, now It's all about saying, okay, it happened. Cool. All right, it'll get corrected.
That's good. But y'all, y'all, I'm speechless. Like, it's because it's good. It's good. You basically just gave us everything that um we basically needed to know about how to get our self love back. You took us to our challenges that we need. Challenging us to these five different things that we like about ourselves that can become that comes turns into affirmations, and how to disconnect from trauma bonds, um how to achieve those things once we come out of those trauma bonds, and how to show ourselves gratitude, how to appreciate ourselves now that we got our self-love back. This is awesome. This has been really, really good. I thank you so, so much for taking out your time to come on self love and just drop these awesome gems on us, um, and explaining what trauma bonds is, helping us understand and letting us know that it is possible for us to get our self love back,
Very much so.
even when we may feel that we've been robbed of, our self love in relationships. You have came and told us and explained to us how we can, um, get our self love back, and just being that example yourself of achieving. You know, look, I went to college. Like, look, he went to college. We all can do it. But you have to have that self love. You have to love yourself and push yourself to want to go further. You have to push yourself to want better. You got to push yourself to a point where you don't want to, um dwell in that place any longer.
Amen. And
Because
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no,
what
go ahead, it's fine.
I'll say this real quick. With change comes challenges. So anytime that you're changing, you're going to be challenged. You're going to be challenged
Yes.
by me. You're going to be challenged by the people who were a part of your life for so long. And you're going to be challenged even by yourself and your own setbacks, because you're so used to certain things being a certain way. These people are used to you being a certain way. And now all of a
Yes.
sudden, they see the changes, and some people are afraid of change because they know that your change is going to mean that you're going to be disconnected, that their season is up. A lot of times, people are well over their season in your life, and it is because you are bonded to them. It is because you don't want to lose them. You're afraid to lose them. You're afraid of people walking away from your life. A lot of us have abandonment issues as well. I know we're talking about, self-love, but abandonment can also hinder that self-love because of the fact that we're so afraid of being abandoned by the people who we love, and we're not understanding that it's not true genuine love that we're getting, but what we're actually getting it are the people, are just the people who are around us based on that bond, based on that trauma bond, based on that hurt, and they feel like that they have they feel like they're connected to you based on that. And so as you're getting on this journey to self-love, these people are not going to want to easily let go. The devil is not going to want to let go, because you're going to be dangerous getting to that place, because that place of peace, that place of joy, the rest that you're going to feel, you're going to be able to sleep better at night. You're not going to be worried about if Johnny is out here cheating, or if Sally is out here cheating, or um if this is going on and that's going on, because you're going to be at a peaceful place. You're going to be like, what, I pray for Johnny and Sally, but right now I got to do what I need to do to get to a place that I need to get to. And I don't, that season for Johnny and Sally is over, because now I got to get to this. I got to get to the best version of myself so that I can serve the purpose that I need to serve, so that I can enjoy life. God didn't give us life to be miserable. He gave us life to live more abundantly.
Mm.
But in order to get to that place, we got to understand that that abundant life is not predicated on being connected to certain people in certain situations, especially if God wants to remove them or if their season is up. And so,
Mhm.
understand you're going to be challenged with change, but change is necessary to grow. Without change, you can never truly grow.
Are you done?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was going to. I didn't want.
I didn't want to.
It's okay.
I didn't want to interrupt. I was listen. He said, without change, you can't grow. You can't. I I I agree with that wholeheartedly. Without change, you can't grow. You're gonna stay stuck, and eventually, all your self love is really just gonna go out the window. And now you're gonna come all these psychological problems, and next thing you know, they got you in a straitjacket somewhere. I'm just being honest, you
Amen.
know. Just like he said that abandonment will decrease your self love, and you just got to get away from. You have to get away from all of that stuff. And let me tell you, I forgiveness is one of those things where I fought with. I, I fought with it. You mean to tell me I got a what because of what? I'm serious. When I accepted my calling and walked in this thing, I'm like, forgive who for what? After what? You want me to what? God had to work with me on that. But see, if I never forgave them, I would have been still, they will still have control over me because how I react to what they done, that's they still got control over me. That's still they got control over me. I'm reacting to what they have done. Forgiveness, it plays a big part of self-love. If you can't forgive, you cheating yourself from self-love. That's to get yourself when you lose self-love, to get your self-love back, forgiveness is the first step. It is the
Mhm.
first step. If you begin, I remember I see this. I was watching this thing on Facebook, and this lady had got shot by her husband, and she went to her husband's funeral. And I seen in the messages this one particular person. She crazy. If you think that I don't see how she did it, because ain't no way I'm gonna forgive nobody who done shot me in my face. Ain't no way I'm gonna be over there hugging on them at their funeral. Guess what? It was the forgiveness in her heart that led her to be able to go to that funeral. Where God has, if you see her story, God has elevated her because she knows she wasn't supposed to be here. She got shot in the face. But it took forgiveness. If she didn't never forgive, she wouldn't even where she wouldn't be where she at right now. She would have no self-love about herself or anything because the side of her face was messed up. She had no self-love. But with the forgiveness that God placed in her, because that takes a lot. When somebody shoot me in my face and I gotta forgive you. But guess what? That takes a lot. And with her forgiveness, she got her self-love back. She out here traveling and everything. Forgiveness plays a big role with self-love. I'm telling y'all. Listen, our time has been so far invested. I've had such an awesome time. I took me some notes. I hope you guys took you all some notes. I thank you guys for joining us on Self Love Thursday.
Thank
Tell
you.
somebody about Self Love Thursday.
Yeah.
If you would like to be a guest on Self Love Thursday, email me. You can actually DM me with, your information if you would like to be a guest and come on here and tell us about the importance of self-love. You can email me at im.septemberwhite@gmail.com and I will respond to you if you would like to be a guest. Of course, before we end, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to leave you with some questions to ask yourself pertaining to self-love. Something that you ask yourself. But before we get into those questions, I want to make sure Prophet doesn't have anything else he would like to share with us. You have anything else you would like to say? You want to leave us with any more jewels?
No, honestly, I just want to. I felt like I was able to share a lot of things that God placed on my heart. Like I told you earlier, I'm normally a person that writes things down and I'll read off, things
Uh-huh.
God told me today to speak from my heart. And I'm so grateful. I was a little nervous to do that because I'm so used to writing everything down and
Right.
going off of that. So this was like really, I could say the first time that I've ever spoken on anything that I have not used notes. So I pray and I hope that what I have shared with you all today has been profound, has been blessed, and I hope that it has made a difference and it has shown the importance of self-love and how we get back what was stolen from us, because it is
Yes.
important to not just know how to, walk this journey of self-love, but how to retrieve what was stolen from us. There are some things you'll never get back. There are some closure that you're never going to receive. There is some conversations that are never going to be had. There are some apologies that you're never going to receive. But what you want to do when it's all said and done is you want to concentrate on your journey of self-love and learn how to get to your place of healing and peace. Don't put that power in the hands of others to determine your place of peace and your self-love and your self-worth. And so with that being said, I am grateful to have been a part of this, and I will turn it back over to you. And I thank everybody for tuning in and listening,
Yes.
for your questions and just receiving this information.
Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions, leave them in the comments if you have any questions. And if I see a question before we get up off here, I'll, read it out and let him answer the question. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in there. There's no question too small or too big, and there's no question that is wrong when it comes to self love. So, of course, again, if you would like to be a guest on Self Love Thursday, email me at im.septemberwhite@gmail.com, or you can DM me right here on Facebook, or you can go on and follow me on TikTok and Instagram and inbox me there and tell me, I would like to be a guest on Self Love. I got some self love jewels I want to drop on the people. Listen, come on. We love to have you right here on I Am. So, those questions that I have for you guys every Thursday is one question. I give you 5 questions every Thursday pertaining to self-love. As you do the challenge of looking yourself in the mirror or turning on your camera on your phone, looking at yourself and sitting there telling yourself the 5 things that you like about yourself. While you're doing that, taking on that challenge, because I'm going to take on that challenge. So I challenge you as well to take on that challenge. And so while you're doing that, telling yourself, oh, you're beautiful, girl, you rock, boy, you handsome. Stop playing with yourself like that. When you're doing all of that in the mirror and everything, you're fixing your tie and everything, like, don't get too boast, you know what I mean? Don't go overboard with it, don't go overboard, but just tell yourself, girl, you got this. This shirt looks good on you. It's just the way God wanted it to be. So when you're doing that, ask yourself these 5 questions. Think about these 5 questions. Number 1, what will I accomplish next year? What will I accomplish next year? Something that I didn't accomplish this year. It's okay. Didn't get it all done. So, what will I accomplish next year? Sometimes it's okay to move the things that we didn't accomplish this year and put it on to the list for next year and make sure that we accomplish. So while you're doing that, go ahead and think about, what will I accomplish next year? Question number 2, how can I improve my daily routines? That's self-love. That is self-love. You know, if you get up, if you're that's one of those everyday people and you just sit around the house on the couch all day, watching TV, eating donuts, eating ice cream or whatever, going in the kitchen, get your some soda pop, eating chips, like basically just doing nothing. What can you do to improve that? That's self-love. You know, what can I do? What can I change? Next question. Question number 3. How can I love myself more daily? That goes along with the challenge. That goes along with the challenge. You're sitting there telling yourself about the good things that you like about yourself. Go ahead and answer the question, how can I love myself daily? We're talking about self-love. It's Self-Love Thursday, y'all. It's Self-Love Thursday, and we got Prophet Lester Jones from Rural Hall, North Carolina. All right. Question. That was question number 3, right? How can I improve myself more daily? Question number 4. What can I do to practice more self-care throughout the week? That's good. You know, self-care is also self-love. All right. What can I do to practice more self-care, self-love throughout the week? You know, what can I do different today? What can I do tomorrow? How can I plan this out? You know what? Making a vision chart is self-love. It is self-love. Okay. Number 5, the last one. What steps can I take to be the most confident version of myself? That's the last one. Let me say that again. That's a good one. Okay. So when you're doing that challenge, you look in the mirror, you done wrote, you done said these things about yourself. You done put on there and answer the question, how can I love myself more daily? Now you're down to, what steps can I take to be the most confident version of myself? That's it. If you do all of that, we're not saying that you got to do it all in one day, but if you want to do it all in one day, that's good too. That's a good start. But if you do all of that, I'm telling you, your self-love will be powerful if you stay on it. It has to be, it has to be something that, it has to be consistency. Consistency is the key. I say that all the time. We got to stay on it. We got to stay on it. We got to stay on it. Or if we don't stay on it, it just get pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. Now we got to work our way back up, because there's some self-love that done dropped somewhere and the enemy done came in just that quick. So we got to pick it up. Listen, thank you all so very, very much. I don't see any questions. Again, once we get off and you have some questions, still put it in the comment section. He'll be able to see it, you guys. Okay. And I'm sure, and I know he will answer any question that you guys have. And I'm sure I'm going to let him leave his information if he would like. I'm going to let him leave his social media and everything. If you guys want to talk one-on-one, I'm not saying you can talk one-on-one. I'm going to leave that to him. I'm going to leave the floor before we close it out. So again, if you want to be a guest, check me out. Email me, DM me. Also, follow me on TikTok at Domestic Violence I Am. Instagram at 2021 I_am. We are on YouTube, everybody. Yay! We are on YouTube now. What is the YouTube, y'all? I don't know. Y'all, I don't know it by heart. And guess what? I don't have that information in front of me. But at the end of the live, listen, you guys, all of that information is going to pop up anyway for you guys to connect with me, follow me. There's some good things that's coming out of I Am. I'm super, super excited what God is doing with I Am. Listen, I am super excited. I Am is going up. And as I always say, when I go up, you guys go up with me, because it would not be an I Am without you guys. It would not be an I Am. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I thank you guys for your support in everything that I Am does. So on next week, we have no other than Dominique Byers out of High Point, North Carolina. That's going to be coming and dropping some gems on us about self-love, the importance of self-love. You guys don't want to miss it. August has already been fire. This has been fire already, and we're going to keep the flames going. We're not going to put the flames out. We're not going to let the enemy do it. We're going to keep going and going and going until everybody. That's what I Am is about. I Am is around the world until everybody gets self-love into them, because God wants us to love ourselves. He wants us to love ourselves. He wants us to live a life following him, loving him, and loving ourselves as well. So again, we're going to have Dominique Byers next Thursday, so be sure to jump on in at 7:30. And then on the 31st, we'll be closing out of August. We have a special session that we will be having on the 31st of August at 7:30. This one is for the kids. Self-Love Thursday is for the kids. So we're going to be hearing from my very own Jules that God blessed me with. They're going to come on and they're going to tell us what the importance of self-love is. And we're going to hear from children. We're going to hear what it means to them. We're going to hear what, how as kids can we love ourselves. This is going to be awesome, y'all. I'm super excited. It's going to be fire. So you have, so basically for the kids section, it's for every kid, because I have an elementary kid, I have a middle school kid, I have a high school kid, and I have a college kid. So it's for all kids of all ages. So if you got kids, listen, bring your kids on, because let me tell you, peer pressure affects self-love. Because if you don't have self-love as a kid, you can be peer pressured into doing anything. You got to love yourself. You have to love yourself. So you guys tune in next week. Tune in the week after that. Bring your kids, tell a friend, like, tag, share. Also, join me on Fridays at 8:00. Let's talk domestic violence. Let's talk domestic violence. Be on the lookout for some more things that I will be having. Of course, domestic violence awareness is in October. So be on the lookout for what we're going to be doing for the month of October. If you guys have a story, if you know a survivor, of course, I am a survivor of domestic violence. I lived in silence for many, many years. I thank God for bringing me out, and I thank God for putting self-love back into me. So if you know a survivor, please tell them to come on over. We would love to hear their story. We'll put their story into I Am's digital newsletter that I Am has that comes out every month. August issue is now out. Next month's issue is in the process, where you guys will actually see Prophet Jones in the digital newsletter next month, y'all. So you guys can read a little bit more about his bio there in the digital newsletter next month. Also, all of this is on all platforms. It is on YouTube again, right here on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. So you guys go ahead and follow. So before we close out, we're going to see if Prophet Jones would like to leave his information for you guys to connect with him and follow him and everything. So it's open to you again, Prophet Jones.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're welcome, I mean, you are welcome to follow me on Facebook. I don't have a lot of social media platforms anymore. I don't have an Instagram. I used to have an Instagram. The only thing I really have at this point is Facebook. So, of course, if you want to follow me on Facebook, that is totally fine. If you have any questions, I am open to questions. I will just say, because in the past, I did a live one time and I got some some people get offended because I'm going to go off the word of God. So if you're asking me something, especially if it's veering away from the word of God, or if it's intended to really hurt somebody, or something like that, I'm going to only tell you the right thing. So if I'm a easy person to talk to, I'm an easy person to get along with, but I'm all about going off of the word of God and the things of God. So I'm not going to deviate from that. I'm not going to say, well, that's okay. No, because if it ain't, if I know God is going to be disappointed, or God is not going to like it, then I'm also not going to put myself in a situation to where two things. I'm not going to tell you to do the wrong thing, and I'm not going to put myself in a position to where I'm going to have to be like, oh God, what did I do? Because I feel like that anybody that comes to me, I take what you're saying serious, and I'm protective by nature. So I want to make sure that I am being protective of you, not just in general, but in a spiritual realm. I want to be protective. I don't never want to lead anybody the wrong way, and I don't want to lead you to, your soul being in danger. And other than that, like I said, feel free to ask me questions. Feel free to follow me on Facebook. And outside of that, Facebook is honestly really all I have at this time. But I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for receiving and listening to the jewels that I have dropped. I thank Prophetess White for allowing me to be a part of this platform to share that information. And again, I hope that this was a blessing. It was a blessing to be on here. It was a blessing to share my own journey, but it was also a blessing to be able to share this as a testimony to say that you can do this. Everything that I've accomplished, I'm letting you know you can do this. Not only can you do this, but you will excel according to, in the name of Jesus, in everything that you are trying to do. Just first of all, be patient. Not just patient with God. You definitely need to be patient with God, but you also need to be patient with yourself, because in any change, any journey that you're on, it's going to take time. So it's not going to go from 0 to 60. It's not going to happen overnight. Anytime we're growing, anytime we change, anything that happens in our lives, not only are we growing, but we're forming habits. And habits take time. That's like going on a diet. It's like, which I need to, but we won't talk about that. But, it's a gradual thing over time, that as you get yourself in that habit, you're training your mind and your body and your soul to get used to something that you have not been used to. So, just be patient. Again, with yourself, be patient with God, and be patient with the process. And with that being said, that's all I have to say. God bless you. Like I said again, feel free to follow me on Facebook. I am here, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, you guys, I have tagged his name in the comments for you guys if you like to go over and follow him on excuse me, on Facebook. So listen, you all, thank you guys so much for your time and tuning in to Self Love Thursday with our special guest, Prophet Lester Jones out of Rural Hall, North Carolina. Check us out next Thursday. You guys be blessed. Remember that God loves you. Remember to smile, because what? Your smile can change the environment that you are in. Someone may be going through something, and just your smile lights up the room and change the environment that they are. Change the environment, changes the atmosphere. And remember that you are loved. Remember that you are loved. Us here at I Am, we love you with the love of Jesus Christ that is within us. So you guys have an awesome, awesome night. Just remember that all the information is at the end of this live. It will play, and you guys can go and follow us. And again, I would love to have you on I Am. Thank you so much, Prophet, for joining in. You have a blessed night. You guys have a blessed night. See you guys next week.